Hello, my name is Matea. I am 33 years old and I come from Croatia. I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in 2017 for the second time. First time I had it when I was just a kid, when I was 10 years old. But this time it was very much different because I've gone through transplantation, and after that I got many complications such as GvHD. When I talk about strategies for managing GvHD, I can only speak from, of course, from my personal experience, because I had both skin and liver GvHD stage 3. The first complications I developed that it was skin GvHD. Although it was classified as an acute one, it lasted quite a long time and it was really, really intense. It started in the hospital with redness and a rash that was almost unbearable. The itching and burning sensation were constant and they were extremely uncomfortable. And when I say itching, I don't mean the itch you get when, I don't know, a mosquito bites you that lasts for a few hours or days. I mean a deep, persistent itch that stayed with me throughout the day and the night, and it affected my sleep, my concentration, and even some simply daily activities. Sometimes even clothing touching my skin were felt irritating. It's difficult to explain skin GvHD to unless you have experienced it yourself. About treatment, it began with a topical corticosteroid cream while I was still hospitalized. And after that, after I was discharged, I continued treatment at home and strictly following doctor's instructions and using the cream 3 times a day as prescribed. Even though it was a local therapy, the recovery was not quick. My skin improved gradually over months, and it required a really long patience and a lot of patience. In those months, living with GvHD also meant adjusting small things in everyday life, such as which shampoo do you use when you shower, what clothes do I wear, and which products I actually use on my skin. It sounds like those are just small things, but when they're part of your daily routine, they become really, really significant. However, what affected me much more physically and psychologically, of course, was liver GvHD. It also appeared when I was hospitalized. It was chronic GvHD. And the thing about liver GvHD is that the difference between skin and skin and liver GvHD is on skin you can feel it, you are red, you want to rip your skin off, and you don't feel liver GvHD, you just have it. In one moment I just went yellow, so we all knew something was really wrong with my liver. I was treated with extracorporeal photopheresis, or ECP. It was really a long and exhausting process. At the same time, I was on many immunosuppressants and other medications, which paradoxically also placed additional strain on my liver while we were trying to treat it. Recovery was extremely slow. We're talking about 180 days post-transplantation, during which my lab results were improved, but in really very small and almost unnoticeable steps. One of the hardest things about GvHD is that the recovery does not feel like a straight line. It's not like you have a flu and each day you feel a little bit better. It's more like you're walking up the hill and all around you is fog and you don't actually see where you're going, but you are hoping that you will come to the end of that hill sometimes and that it will be soon, but it's not actually that soon. Um, so it was really, really hard for me psychologically, and it was challenging because it's the kind of recovery where you don't see the rapid results, and every small improvement actually mattered, but required an enormous patience. There were moments of frustration because sometimes you feel like you aren't moving forward, like you're 3 steps up and then 7 steps back, and even though in reality you are getting better with time. Managing GvHD while trying to have some sense of normal life was also really complicated because I had GvHD when it was a pandemic of COVID-19. So it was hard to emotionally process everything that happened during that time, and so I was in my own isolation, and everybody else were in isolated also. So because of my weakened immune system, I had to be extremely careful and completely isolated. Due to ECP, I also needed to stay out of the sun, so that made my life a little bit more difficult because I couldn't even go outside or sit in the garden or be with anyone else except my family, who were really, really careful all the time. So that all limited my ability to return to some kind of normal life you want to live when you are sick. um, so while others were slowly returning to their normal life, I still had to manage every contact and every exposure. If I reflect on strategies for managing with my GvHD, from my perspective, I would say they include, of course, medical treatment, therapy, strict adherence to treatments, and I don't know, a lot of patience and regular monitoring, and of course, mental resilience. GvHD is not only a physical condition, it is also a big psychological challenge because you need to have a lot of patience, you need to trust in yourself, you need to believe that one day, even though it's going really slow, one day it will be better. And for that, we do have groups. You need to know that you are not alone, and you need to give yourself hope, give yourself strength, and believe that it will be better. It's hard, it's long lasting, it's terrible, but people do get better after that. I can say that it was one of the most hardest and painful time of my life, my periods of my life, but it also made me so much stronger, and it taught me something really important, and that is that even when the progress feels really small, those small steps are actually really they mean that you are moving forward. And sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, when you're on recovery, that is the most important thing that you need to know.